Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is, of course, Tuesday, March the 24th, 2026. Hope everybody's having a good week thus far. Um, as we're, of course, 1 week out from the completion of the third month of the year, so we're almost one quarter of the way through the year here. Of course, as always, we're going to give people a chance to come in before we get started. If you haven't done so, a friendly reminder as always, if you haven't done so already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, of course, today did again had a chance to watch some cartoons. Mighty Mouse, some Popeye, Popeye's Amusement Park, Smoked Hands from Woody Woodpecker, and of course the Academy Award winner, um, the Cat Concerto, Tom and Jerry. So quite a few interesting cartoons there, to say the least. Oh, and the first Buzzy cartoon as well was Stupid Stitious Cat. So some famous studios. So, anyways, let's see now. La 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 la. Let's see. They're just waiting on some. See if anybody else shows up. Again, friendly reminder, of course, as always, if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. And I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. And we are coming up on the 3 minute mark, so I guess I'll talk about what's on tap for tonight. So, got a couple articles from Bleeding Fool. One talking about a new Family Guy spinoff, Stewie. I guess from what I understand, like 13 years after the last Family Guy spinoff, the Cleveland Show. So they're looking to give Stewie his own show, and then and also there's going to be a comic book adaptation of the 1980 Flash Gordon live action movie. So that's also going to be coming out. So we'll be talking about those two things. We're going over articles on those two things. Get caught up in all the latest in world of pro wrestling. Look back to last night's Monday Night Raw. Look ahead to tonight's NXT, and maybe this time we'll actually get to talk about the card set for Friday here for Friday's TNA show, Sacrifice. We'll look at that, and then we'll also take a look back at this day in each history. So, with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started then? Let me just go grab the material here. As always, feel free to comment and or ask questions if anything here grabs your attention. So, there we go with that. All right, so Stewie from Family Guy is getting his own spinoff. Article by James Quinn, published March 21st, 2026, which was, of course, this past Saturday. Now, let's see what they got to say here on this. So, Fox is expanding the animated world of Family Guy as creator Seth MacFarlane returns to one of his most famous characters for a new spinoff. The network confirmed a 2-season order for Stewie, a series centered on the youngest Griffin family member, known for his intelligence and dark humor. The project marks the second spin-off in the show's long history, more than a decade after the Cleveland show ended in 2013. So it actually came to an end in 2013. All right. There's Stewie right there. According to a report from Deadline, Stewie will launch during the 2027-2028 television season. It will air on Fox, then stream the next day on Hulu, and reach global audiences through Disney+. Each season will include fewer episodes than the typical 15-episode run seen in other Fox animated comedies produced by 20th Century. MacFarlane will return to voice the title character, continuing his signature role as the scheming infant he has portrayed since the 1999 debut of Family Guy. So that show's been around for what, 27 years now? In the new show, Stewie is expelled from his preschool and sent to a less prestigious one. There, he meets unfamiliar classmates and even a 75-year-old class turtle with bizarre theories that challenge everyone's sanity. The plot follows Stewie as he brings new inventions and time-traveling devices into the chaos, but the events will exist outside the main Family Guy timeline. MacFarlane issued a tongue-in-cheek statement after the show's announcement saying, quote, "I'd like to thank Fox for this incredible opportunity, and I'm excited to start pretending I'm collaborating closely with them on the show," unquote. The remark fits his trademark humor while highlighting his long partnership with the network. The new series will take a more serialized approach than Family Guy, following one connected story arc through its 2 seasons. While the original show often features self-contained episodes tied together by humor and cultural satire, Stewie is expected to focus on character development and a continuous storyline. Very interesting take for an animated comedy there. After more than 25 years on the air, Family Guy remains a key part of Fox's animation lineup. The launch of Stewie signals the network's desire to deepen its investment in animated franchises that have proven both profitable and culturally enduring. Alrighty then, so that was a pretty quickie. That's pretty quick. Alright, so we did say we had 2 articles to go over here. So let me get to the other one I was going to do tonight, which is in regards to a comic book adaptation of the 1980 Flash Gordon live-action movie. Alright, so Al Williamson's 1980 Flash Gordon movie adaptation gets new edition. Article by John Pallister, published March 24th, 2026. So that's today, in fact. The 1980 Flash Gordon film adaptation returns in a new collection, bringing the rare comic book version back into print. Mad Cave Studios, in partnership with King Features, proudly presents Flash Gordon movie graphic novel retelling, in parentheses there, the three-part adaptation originally released alongside the iconic movie. Written by Bruce Elliott Jones of The Incredible Hulk, in parentheses there, a veteran writer and screenwriter whose career spans comics, novels, and illustration, and illustrated by Al Williamson, in parentheses, from EC's Weird Science, on parentheses there. The celebrated artist whose award-winning run on Flash Gordon defined adventure comics in the mid-1960s. This edition captures the cinematic scope and masterful line work that shaped science fiction storytelling for generations. Featuring colors by Rich Veitch of Swamp Thing fame, the collection restores a moment where blockbuster spectacle met classic comics craftsmanship. Hmm. Editor Sarah Brunstad reflected on the significance of the collection. Quote, "This book is such a lovely artifact. Al Williamson drew Flash like no other, and it's a thrill to see his and Bruce Jones' take on the iconic film. I'm proud to introduce fresh eyes to another Flash Gordon classic." Unquote. It looks like somebody did a little typo there, just jamming Gordon and classic together there. First released in 1980 on the heels of the now classic film, this three-part adaptation by legends Bruce Jones and Al Williamson is getting a brand new release. Relive the thrill of the beloved movie and revel in the extraordinary art of a comics master and longtime contributor to the Flash Gordon strip. A must-have for fans, collectors of classic adventure comics, and readers discovering Flash Gordon for the first time. This edition captures the operatic sci-fi energy and fearless heroism that cemented its legacy Teen Plus. Flash Gordon movie graphic novel retelling, in parentheses, is available in paperback, ISBN 978-154-582-6997, $17.99, and goes on sale on July 7th, 2026, with final orders due June 15th. The book is now available for pre-order from your favorite bookstore, comic shop, or from Mad Cave directly. Alrighty then. So there we go with that. Looks like we kind of got through those two articles pretty quick. So I'll see if I can find another one here. Let me just I'll just go back. Okay, so let's see now. Oh yeah. Okay. Let's see now. All right. So, anyways, all right. So we still do have a few minutes, so I could try to find something else to go over. There are a couple other articles I could have gone over from Bleeding Full, but I just felt like they were just a little too negative. Even though we do we do kind of make fun of some of these like for it's like Dan Slott begging for people to buy his comic that they get a little old um pretty quickly there. So let's see now. Just trying to think of what I might want to do here. Let's see now. Panda recently we did. I'm just trying to think here of what I might want to do here. Oh, actually, here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull up information on The Fox and the Crow, which was an animated series that was produced by initially Screen Gems, and then UA picked it up, and it was distributed by Columbia Pictures. Of course, they also got their own comic book series as well. So let's take a quick peek. Let's take a bit of a peek at The Fox and the Crow. The animated characters, of course, not the Aesop's Fables characters. Albeit some people would argue that they were based on the Aesop, with as I think their first cartoon was The Fox and the Grapes. So, anyways. All right, so let's take a look at this. So, first, so The Fox and the Crow, first appearance, the episode The Fox and the Grapes, December 5th, 1941. Last appearance, Punchy de Leon, January 12th, 1950, created by Frank Tashlin, based on, of course, The Fox and the Grapes and The Fox and the Crow from Aesop's Fables. Both characters were initially, when their first appearance was voiced by Mel Blanc, before, of course, Frank Graham took over from 42 to 46. Cal Howard took over Fox's voice from 47 to 49, while Dave Barry took over the Crow's voice during that same stretch. And then John T. Smith from 48, 49, and Dawes Butler in 1950. Because they're both males. Fox's name was Fauntleroy, and Crow's name was Crawford. All right, so let's take a look at this then. So, the Fox and the Crow are a pair of anthropomorphic cartoon characters created by Frank Tashlin for the Screen Gems studio. Now, this was, of course, before Screen Gems went into television animation distribution. The characters, the refined but gullible Fauntleroy Fox and the streetwise Crawford Crow, appeared in a series of animated short subjects released by Screen Gems through its parent company, Columbia Pictures. The Columbia cartoons. Tashlin directed the first film in the series, the 1941 Color Rhapsody short The Fox and the Grapes, loosely based on the Aesop fable of the same name. Warner Brothers Animation director Chuck Jones later acknowledged this short, which features a series of blackout gags as the fox repeatedly tries and fails to obtain a bunch of grapes in the possession of the Crow, as one of the inspirations for his popular Roadrunner cartoons. So, Fox and the Crow, Roadrunner, and Wile E. Coyote. Although Tashlin directed no more films in the series, despite playing a supervisory role on the following two shorts: Woodman Spare That Tree, and Tollbridge Troubles. Prior to his departure, Screen Gems continued producing Fox and the Crow shorts, many of them directed by Bob Wickersham, until the studio closed in 1946. Screen Gems had acquired enough of a backlog of completed films that the Fox and the Crow continued appearing in cartoons through 1949. By this time, Columbia had signed a distribution deal with a new animation studio, United Productions of America, to produce 3 Fox and Crow shorts: Robin Hoodlum in 1948, The Magic Flute in 1949, and Punchy de Leon in 1950. All 3 UPA Fox and Crow cartoons were directed by John Hubley. The first 2 each received an Academy Award nomination for animated. Now, UPA, that was the company, that was the company that also gave us, of course, Mr. Magoo and Gerald McBoing Boing, that were also distributed through Columbia Pictures. An unrelated 6-minute silent animated short titled The Fox and the Crow, produced by Fable Studio, was released in 1921. A list of shorts here. In 1943, so list of short Screen Gems. In 1943, due to the series' success, Columbia gave the Fox and the Crow their own series from the Color Rhapsodies. It lasted until 1946. All cartoons from Room and Board in 1943 to Mr. Fox in 1946 belonged to this series. So, of course, as part of the Color Rhapsody cartoons, essentially the first 7 here. The first one directed by Mike Tyson, the rest directed by Bob Wickersham. So The Fox and the Great, Woodman Spare That Tree, Tollbridge Troubles, Say It With Flowers, Plenty Below Zero, Tree for Two, and A Hunting We Will Go. And starting from Room and Board, B-O-R-E-D, not to be confused with B-O-R-A-R-D, B-O-A-R-D. These belonged, of course, these cartoons that I'm about to talk about belonged to the Fox and Crow series, including Room and Board, starting with that, Way Down Yonder in the Corn, The Dream Kids, Mr. Moocher, Be Patient Patient, The Egg, Cuckoo Nuts. Then Howard Swift was brought in to direct, and all those were prior to this one I said now were directed by Bob Wickersham. Howard Swift was brought in to direct Treasure Chest before, and then Bob Wickersham. It go back and forth between Wickersham and Howard Swift here. Wickersham would then direct the next 2 shorts, Phony Baloney and Foxy Flatfoot. Howard Swift would come back in May of 1946 to direct Unsure Runts. And then Mr. Fox was the last one in the Fox and the Crow series in August of 1946. He was, and then on June 5th, 1947, Howard Swift directed the Fox and the Crow short Truth or Consequences and that one was made part of the Fantasy series. Fantasy series of animated shorts. And then Great Nutty was the last one of the Columbia of the Screen Gems cartoons That was a Color Rhapsody directed by Alex Lovey. Probably known more for his work at Universal than at and then the three UPA shorts, of course, were Robin, all directed by John Hubley. The first two had part of the Fox and Crow series, Robin Hoodlum, which was released December 23rd, 1948. Then on March 24th, 1949, The Magic Flute. And then the last one, Punchy De Leon, was part of the Jolly Frolic series for UPA. And of course, the Fox and the Crow became so popular that they did get their own comic book series, and it looks like a featured film as well, among other things, or well, at least a comic book. So let's take a look at that a bit here. As the Fox and the Crow starred in several talking animal comic books published by DC Comics from the 1940s well into the 1960s. So basically, what they meant by talking animal comic books, these were books like Fox and the Crow and Fawcett's Funny Animals, basically these anthropomorphic characters that were brought to life in the pages of comic books. They starred with other characters in DC's Columbia licensed talking animal anthology, Real Screen Comics, first issue titled Real Screen Funnies, beginning in 1945. Basically, these were comics that were anthology series that were based on, of course, I think popular characters of the time, so you can go see them at the movie theater, and then you can go read about them, from your local newsstand. Then did likewise when DC converted the superhero title, Comic Cavalcade, to a talking animal series in 1948. Comic Cavalcade, of course, was initially the anthology, was the super anthology home of Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and the Flash. The duo received its own title, The Fox and the Crow, which ran for 108 issues from January 1952 to March of 1968, until the 1954 demise of Comic Cavalcade. Fox and Crow were cover featured on 3 DC titles. They continued on the cover of Real Screen Comics through its title change to TV Screen Comics from 129 to 138, August 1959 to February 1961, the final issue. Fox and the Crow was renamed Stanley and His Monster, beginning with number 109, May of 1968. After the backup feature began in number 95, January 1966, that had taken over in popularity. Yeah, Stanley and His Monster. I believe that was a TV show, a TV cartoon as well, or TV show, something like that. I don't know if it was one of those that was eventually developed by Sid and Marty Krofft. I'm probably thinking Sigmund and the Sea Monster, probably more than likely. But let's see. For the last 10 years of its existence, The Fox and the Crow was written by Cecil Beard, assisted by his wife, Alpine Harper. The illustrator was Jim Davis, born 1915. So if Jim Davis happens to be, I don't know if that Jim Davis is alive, but if he is, he'd be well over 100 at this point. 110, 111 years old right there. Although it was generally unsigned. And then feature films. So Fauntleroy Fox and Crawford Crowe were going to have a cameo in the 1988 film Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but were later dropped for unknown reasons. Yeah, we seem to be hearing a lot about that. A lot of like some of these lesser known characters were going to probably be part of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but then were mysteriously dropped. But anyways, I need to go off camera for a moment. I'll be right back. We'll finish this up, and then we'll probably move on to the rest and wrap up when I get back. And I'll put some music on while I'm gone. All right, so I'm back now. So again, friendly reminder, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. And I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Well, so let's go ahead and kind of just do some last little informational stuff on Fox and Crow, and then we'll probably move on to the wrestling wrap up from here. We're coming up on 40 minutes here. All right, so on the right here, publication information on the Fox and Crow comic books, publisher, DC Comics, publication date, December 1951, January 1952 to February, March 1968. That's, of course, I believe, the cover date. Number of issues, 108. Main characters, the Fox and the Crow and Stanley and his monster. Written by Cecil Beard and Alpine Harper, the creative team here, and artist Jim Davis. Alrighty then, so that's all we got for you guys on the articles tonight. So now, go ahead and get ready to talk a little bit about pro wrestling, wrestling wrap up, as it were. We got some stuff to go over from Raw last night, as well as looking ahead to tonight's NXT, and then we'll also talk a little bit probably about the card going into this Friday's Sacrifice pay-per-view from TNA. Let me see here. So, of course, on last night's Monday Night Raw, the show actually opened up with a. So last night's Monday Night Raw coming from the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts, with Michael Cole and Corey Graves on commentary and airing on Netflix. The show opened up with a promo between, of course, with a confrontation between Obafemi and Brock Lesnar, continuing their build towards their potential WrestleMania match, as Obafemi's come out to answer Brock's open challenge for WrestleMania. With Obafemi once again getting the upper hand on Brock, knocking him out of the ring with a clothesline, and basically Paul Heyman trying to usher Heyman to the back. The opening match of the show, in a non-title match between the WWE World Tag Team Champions, the Usos, and the Vision duo of Logan Paul and Austin Theory, saw the Paul and Theory defeat the Usos via disqualification when LA Knight came out, kind of threw some brass knucks to Jay in the ring. Jay, apparently not really even thinking too much about it, decided to use him right in front of the referee, getting the instant DQ. Basically just clocking, I believe it was Theory, right in the face with the brass knucks. Referee ended up having, there was no way that he could, there's absolutely no way that he could ignore that. And then, of course, you had a confrontation between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch, setting up their match up at, or continuing the build for their possible matchup for the women's IC belt coming up at WrestleMania. Let's see. Then you had Javon Evans score a victory on Grayson Waller in just under 9 minutes and in the next match on the show. And then you had another segment with Heyman, this time confronting Seth Rollins, where he was eventually arrested and taken out for violating a restraining order that Heyman had put out on him. Make sure he didn't come back and get to him. So we got that, as they're continuing the whole Seth Rollins Vision feud right there. And a number of guys who just are wanting to get hold of the Vision. The Usos, LA Knight, Seth Rollins. So let's see. Then, of course, in women's tag team action, you had Bayley and Lyra Valkyria defeating the Kabuki Warriors of Asuka and Kairi Sane in just under 9 minutes. Kind of funny, the exact same time that the two matches, Javon Evans beat Grayson Waller in 8 minutes 57 seconds, and Bayley and Lyra Valkyria defeated Kabuki Warriors in 8 minutes 57 seconds. So that's just too funny. And then prior to the main event, of course, as Dom was coming out, Dominic Mysterio was coming out for his contractual rematch against Penta for the WIC belt. Stephanie Kerr attacked him and Liv Morgan, continuing their build for the W Women's World title between Kerr and Morgan. With Penta eventually getting the win with some timely interference or timely distraction from Finn Balor. Finn Balor came out on stage as Mysterio Dominic was getting ready to do the frog slash on Penta, only for JD McDonough, who was in Mysterio's corner, to go after Balor. They were fighting the back. Penta got his knees up as Mysterio went for the frog splash and then rolled up Mysterio for the win. It was also announced on the show that as part of their legacy wing, Sid Udry, who many fans would remember as either Sid Vicious or Psycho Sid, will be inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame. So, former WWF World Heavyweight Champion Psycho Sid is going to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year, joining a class that also includes, of course, Stephanie McMahon, AJ Styles, and Demolition. So there you go. So now looking ahead, of course, to tonight's NXT. Head to tonight's NXT, as soon as I pull that up here. On tonight's NXT, all right. Oh yeah, tonight's NXT. Hold on a second. Let me see something here. Okay. Tonight's NXT, airing on the CW, coming from the Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. We'll see in action in another number one contendership semifinal tournament match for the WWE NXT tag team titles. Eli Knight and Elio LaFleur will be taking on the Culling of Shawn Spears and Nico Vance. In a number one contendership gauntlet match to see who will next challenge NXT for the NXT North American title, Jackson Drake, who I think just recently dropped the Evolve title, Dion Lennox of Dark State, and Shiloh Hill, and another person will be joining that match. Thea Hall is set to take on Kalani Jordan. In tag team action, Kendall Gray, I believe she's the Evolved Women's Champion, teaming with Ren Sinclair, who just recently defeated Fallon Henley to become the new WWE Speed Champion. They'll be in tag as Ren QCC will be taking on Fatal Influence of Fallon Henley and Lainey Reed, and then Ricky Saints with Ethan Page in his corner will be taking on Tony D'Angelo. So now, with that all being said, now also go take a look back or take a look ahead rather, to since I can find something here that will. I guess I'll have to just. So we're gonna take a quick. I'm gonna go just talk about real quick what to look forward to on this Friday night's Sacrifice pay-per-view for TNA from Total Nonstop Action. So this Friday, TNA will be holding its Sacrifice pay-per-view. From the Alario Center in Westwego, Louisiana. Already signed to the event, of course, in a no DQ match. Elena Black will be taking on Mara Sade, the former Jakara Jackson in WWE's NXT brand. Eddie Edwards of the System, with the remaining members of the System in his corner, will be taking on Moose. He'll have Alicia Edwards in his corner. In mixed tag action, international champion Trey Miguel teams with Jada Stone to take on the Odo 4 duo of Mustafa Ali and Tasha Steelz, with the rest of Order 4 in their corner. In tag team action, in a match that was set up this past week, Elijah and the Hometown Man will be taking on Frankie Kazarian and AJ Francis. In a three-way match for the TNA Knockouts World Title, Ariana Grace, training Lorenzo in her corner, defends against Danny Luna and the Angel Warriors Lei Ying Lee, who will have, of course, Nia Brookside, as this will be, of course, Lei Ying Lee's contractual rematch, and also, up to this point, Danny Luna was also owed a match, so they're just going to do it with a three-way here. Eric Young cashes in his X Division title contract, as he'll be challenging Leon Slater for the X Division title. And in the match that's been getting built quite heavily here, Mike Santana will be defending the TNA World title against Steve Macklin. So that's all we got for the wrestling wrap-up. So now, with today being, of course, Tuesday, March the 24th, 2026. Let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche's history. So, let me just see here real quick. 2004, 1996, 1951, and 2006. All right. So first off, we're going to head back 75 years ago. As on this date, 75 years ago, back in 1951. In 1951. Chuck Jones, let's see, the Warner Brothers cartoon Sentimental Romeo, starring Pepe Le Pew and directed by Chuck Jones. Premiered in movie theaters on this date back in 1951. It also starred, of course, Penelope Pussycat. Penelope Pussycat was, of course, the object of Pepe's unwanted attention, as it were, about many of his features. So 75 years ago today, the Pepe Le Pew cartoon Sentimental Romeo from Warner Brothers was released in theaters. All right, so now moving on to 1996, 30 years ago today, on this date in 1996, WCW held its uncensored pay-per-view. From the Tupelo Coliseum in Tupelo, Mississippi. The main event saw the team of the Mega Powers of Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage defeat the Alliance to End Hulkamania of Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Meng, the Barbarian, Lex Luger, the Taskmaster, Z Gangsta, aka Zeus from WWE fame, and the Ultimate Solution, who had, of course, Woman, Miss Elizabeth, and Jimmy Hart in their corner in a Doomsday Cage match. And basically it was, a 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-on-2 match there. Sting and Booker T defeated the Road Warriors in a Chicago street fight. In a battle of giants, the Giant, aka Paul White, beat Loch Ness, aka Haystack Calhoun from English wrestling fame, from British wrestling fame, in just over 2.5 minutes. The Booty Men defeated Diamond Dallas Page. Colonel Robert Parker defeated Medusa in 3 minutes 47 seconds. In the Belfast Bruiser defeated Lord Steven Regal by disqualification, and Conan retained the only title match on the evening. Conan defeated Eddie Guerrero to retain the WCW United States champion in a battle of two former Los Gringos Locos. So 30 years ago, WCW Uncensored from Tupelo, Mississippi. Now, as we get ready to move ahead to the year 2004, on this date in the year 2004, which was, of course, 22 years ago today. On this date, 22 years ago today. The 50th issue of the first volume of Batgirl from DC Comics went on sale on this date back in 2004. So the $325 was 40 pages. Tough Love was the name of the story. It featured the Cassandra Cain version of Batgirl. And the title there on the cover there goes Batgirl versus Batman. As written by Dylan Horrocks, penciled by Rick Lenardi. Jesse Del Parting did the inking, Clem Robbins did the lettering, and Jason Wright did the coloring. So the 50th issue of Volume 1 of Batgirl went on sale on this date back in the year 2004. And finally, in the year 2006, we move ahead to that. On this date in the year 2006, Toei Animation's Ayakashi Samurai Horror Tales would finish its run on Japanese television on this date 20 years ago. 20 years ago today, Toei Animation's Ayakashi Samurai Horror Tales would complete its run on Japanese television on this date back in 2006. Alrighty then, so with that being said, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Back here with, of course, more Neats News tomorrow. Don't forget that Sunday I'll be joined by Terry from Mighty Geek Studios. We'll be in Look Down Comics History Lane, August of 1940. So with all that, I thank you all for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.